Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining me at Colquitt's Corner for another episode. And today I have a very special guest. His name is Wes Bennett, and he is going to talk to us about cryptocurrency. He is a retail trader just like us, and he also trades cryptocurrencies. So we're going to dive right into it, and he's going to share some of the experiences with us. All right, what's going on, Wes? I want to thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you coming out on Colquitt's Corner and giving you a chance to talk about one of the two things you love, World of Warcraft, right? Being the first. Yes.
Not so much today, but yeah.
Not so much today, my friend. So we'll change it up and keep it exciting and maybe let you talk about the crypto world that everybody seems to want to be getting into. But don't know how. But for beginners 101, man, let's keep it simple, dude. Honestly, it's one of those things most people probably refer to it as Bitcoin. If they know nothing about it and don't even really know what cryptocurrency is, man, if you don't mind, in layman's term, can you kind of break it down to us a little bit more as far as what it actually is?
Oh man, it's so hard to break it down in layman's terms.
Yeah.
You gotta kind of build up. So cryptocurrency started with Bitcoin, 2009. Satoshi Nakamoto was the guy's handle. It's basically an encrypted currency system. We'll put it that way, where people will operate things called nodes, which are just like an app that you'll run on your computer that will process and store all the records of every transaction that's happened.
Hmm.
And everyone participating in this network on the internet can exchange Bitcoin, which have value. The value, of course, it fluctuates. So, hold on. The fact that I know, you don't have to edit this out. The
Well,
fact
it's
that I know
okay.
that I'm being recorded, it makes me kind of stop and think about it. So,
So, one of the things that I think when I first started hearing about this and I thought was kind of interesting, it almost seemed like a video game because they were talking about people mining. I was like, literally, how do you mine for
right.
for gold in the sense, I think it's funny that we opened up a little bit your other favorite, World of Warcraft. Um,
Hmm.
just in mine being StarCraft, it's all about. It just seems like such a video game, but in a sense, you're not really mining. What exactly do you mean by that, and why was that such a big trend in the beginning of the Bitcoin phrase? And is it still, is that something plausible today? Is it somebody that somebody can get into?
Okay, that's a lot of questions. We'll start with, like mining. Why is it called that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they call it because, gold miners mine gold. But that's not actually what you're doing. You're not taking a pic to the internet and pulling it out. The miners are the actual processing nodes for Bitcoin. They're like the Visa or the MasterCard servers that do all the transactions. They validate the transactions. And in the process of doing that, to reward them, the system itself gives them Bitcoin at a set amount. Changes over the years, but they get rewarded for doing the work to keep the system going so that people can keep the transactions going. And that's kind of like the incentive that lets them uh, continue their operations. Because now, to answer your question, can one get into it? Not unless you have millions of dollars and free electricity.
Hmm.
Those are the two qualifications now to get into it because the game has gotten so competitive that the energy cost, the electricity to run these massive server farms, which you have to pay a lot of money for, they have specialized processors that only process Bitcoin. They're called ASICs, and you have to buy them, and they're constantly getting outdated. So the question is, even if you do you make your investment, are you going to make it back? So there's some very
Maybe if
very
you had
large
started off
operations that
early, you think you would have been worth it, but
early on you could do it. It was best to do it with video cards.
hmm.
And if you had a pretty good video card, you could mine a decent amount of Bitcoin back when Bitcoin was in the pennies and a couple of dollars. And you could make, a few dollars a day. So it was worth it for a lot of people. And then the forward thinkers, they went and bought dozens, hundreds of video cards, put them all together in sequence, and used that to mine Bitcoin. But as I said, eventually the game got so competitive that they came up with specialized processors that obsoleted the graphics card method.
Now, is
So,
there a cap on this amount of Bitcoin that actually be mined, or is this something that
yeah,
just there is? Okay,
21 million.
21
21
million.
million will be the maximum amount of Bitcoin ever mined. And like I said, the miners get rewarded, so that's how the Bitcoin comes into the economy. But they're getting rewarded at an ever slower and slower pace. In other words, they have these events every few years. Depends on when it happens, but they can kind of guess when it's going to be. The next one's coming up pretty soon. It's called the halvening, where the rewards uh, go down. And I haven't. You're asking me a lot about like, fundamentals, and as you know, I'm a technical trader.
Mm,
Like I've been through all these fundamentals years ago when I first got into it.
yeah.
Now I just look at prices, so I'm gonna have to look up. Let's see, how much is the current reward for Bitcoin mine? Because I can't remember. Yeah, so right now, every few minutes, a successful miner that mines a block, which is basically a chunk of all the transaction data, they get 12.5 Bitcoin. And sometime this year, it's going to get halved to 6.25 Bitcoin. What's been interesting about that debate for the fundamental uh, people, they were looking and buying and speculating that halvening was going to have the same effect that it did last time, which was make it go up because supply is going to start decreasing. But then we had this whole market crash, and that didn't hasn't quite come to pass yet,
So
or it could be in the process.
we haven't officially mined that. What'd you say? 21 million.
No, it's if you imagine how it looks like a kind of a it's like a hockey stick or like an inverse exponential rate where they got mined very quickly in the very beginning and slowly they'll trail off. Then after all the rewards and all the happening has happened, there will be transaction fees. And that's how the miners will get rewarded. It's small amounts that get taken off the top of every transaction. Um,
So it
so
hasn't
that's
capped off yet as far as what people can mine. I mean, there will be a day will mining will cease to exist because they've mined every bit of it possible, and
it
then
will
that's where the
be.
transaction fees will come in.
Well, mining for the rewards will not be the goal. Mining for the transaction fees,
Mm,
just like like I said, Visa or Mastercard would
interesting.
charge fees. That will be the incentive to keep these operations running, but it'll be pretty competitive, and there will still be people that want to stay in the space, but you have to have a very large operation to make it economically feasible.
Mm.
So right now, for most people, Bitcoin specifically, well, we'll talk about other cryptocurrencies, but Bitcoin specifically, you gotta either use it to buy stuff online or use it as a speculative asset, a store of value.
Hmm.
There are some people that claim that they put all their wealth into Bitcoins. That's the only thing they believe in. I think that's a little silly and not
Mm.
really well diversified, but some people do.
Well,
Uh,
let's talk about that, man. How do people actually who are not miners, just average Joes, how do they get a hold of some Bitcoin? It's not obviously it's not a physical coin. Um, it's a digital currency. So how do you where do you go with this stuff, man? This is all brand new. It's how do you get into that world, man?
you got to go set up an account with an exchange,
Mm-hmm.
one that you can transact with from American bank accounts. There's tons and tons of exchanges out there, hundreds, maybe even thousands. I don't know, but there a lot of them are going to be fly by night. The three that have some lasting, well, let me just off the top of my head, Coinbase will probably be the biggest
Mm.
exchange that most people go through. There are two other US based exchanges, which are Kraken, Kraken, and Gemini, which is run by those Winklevoss twins.
Mm.
Those would be the three that most Americans are going to get into Bitcoin with because you can set up an ACH bank transfer. Takes a while to get validated. I think, as you've recognized and you've seen,
Yeah, they're
maybe even
still trying to
weeks.
validate me on Kraken. By the way, I got to retake
It
some
can take a
pictures, I guess.
while. Yeah, but once you're in, you can buy it, and then once you're in the ecosystem, once you have some Bitcoin, some crypto, you can exchange it for other cryptocurrencies. and you can even move on to other exchanges.
Well, let's talk
So,
about that too. So there are, and I don't think a lot of people are aware of this, but since Bitcoin came out, there have been other cryptocurrencies that have grown in popularity as well. And there's actually, God, there's a ton of cryptocurrencies out there, in there. I mean, Facebook was talking about coming out with their own. I mean, it's like, God, who cannot have a cryptocurrency? Could Wes have a cryptocurrency?
oh yeah, dude. At one point, was it in the run up in 2017? If you just published a PDF white paper talking about a cryptocurrency you're going to make, didn't even make it. You just talked about making it. People would throw millions of dollars. Not joking. The bubble was so extreme that people talking about their new cryptocurrency they were going to come up with before they even programmed it could get money thrown at them to just get it done because the people were just throwing money. It was kind of a little analogy of the .com boom and bust.
Well,
But
what cryptocurrencies outside of Bitcoin would if somebody wanted to start? I mean, like what would be like a top five?
so I call what I look at the only things I don't have time to look at all the different cryptocurrencies. And when you get to your question, but I'm trying to kind of warn people away from getting too deep into all these little crazy ones.
Mm-hmm.
I stick with the blue chips as I call them. I don't even know if that's the thing, but it's going to be your Bitcoin, your Litecoin. Those are the two basically longest players. Litecoin came out shortly after Bitcoin.
So Litecoin's like the Pepsi to Coca Cola, huh?
More like the silver to the gold.
Gotcha.
We'll put it that way. That's a better analogy because it's much less market capitalization and lower price, but it still has a lot of volume. As far as the technological advantages to it, it was supposed to be faster than Bitcoin, a lot of other things. But again, going into the technicals, that's the stuff that fundamental traders like to talk about because they'll talk about all the things that these coins want to do, whether they can or not. The others, Ethereum is probably the next biggest. In fact, hold on. Yeah, Ethereum. The benefit to Ethereum is you can build in digital contracts. In other words, um, you can store more information in the blockchain, which is the ledger that keeps all the transactions. And there's some interesting things you can do with that. So there's a little bit of a use case with Ethereum, and they've had a split to different development teams. They have Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. Both have pretty good liquidity.
Hmm.
Um, then you get your privacy coins, which are absolutely trying to achieve complete and total anonymity in their coins. There's several of them out there, but the biggest one of that's going to be Monero. So the only things I really look at are Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Monero, and then sometimes basically things that other friends that I'll be in trading groups will start talking about. I'll take a look at, but I don't really dabble in them because the liquidity's not there, and um, I can only look at so many things in a day.
So what's the big excitement about trading with this new type of currency versus just a credit card or the good old fashioned dollar? I mean, why an
Trading or
alternative?
buying with?
Man, the both. Let's talk about buying. Let's
Okay.
talk about buying because I know you're thinking about trading as far as trading like stock market stuff, but I mean the idea that this is a currency that means you can buy and sell, right? And what's the advantage of that? Why did I not just use my credit card? Why not just pay cash? I mean, why this crypto?
That's a very good question. It's a very good question. The reason is it has advantages, but also has disadvantages too. The two that you mentioned. For one, with credit cards, if you're the person you're buying from doesn't deliver or there's some kind of dispute, you can just have the credit card reverse it. Done. Get your money back. Cannot do that with cryptocurrency. Once you do the transaction, it's done. So there's a disadvantage, but it's also one of the strengths in that no one can invalidate your transaction with a cryptocurrency
Hmm.
except you and possibly the counterparty, depending on the coin and how it works. So you can't have the bank come in and say, oh, you can't do Bitcoin anymore. They can't cancel your Bitcoin account. So it offers you that kind of protection. But you lose the protection that the credit card gives you, being able to do chargebacks. Cash is king, but you can't throw a wad of cash at somebody in Europe, but you can transact across with anyone on the internet, cryptocurrencies instantaneously, which means it's faster than a wire transfer, which is how most people do international transfers.
Hmm.
So that's the advantage there. So it's and it's also so far it's been a speculative asset. You can buy more with it. Like if you bought Bitcoin for $100 a few years ago, you could buy more with it. Now, where to buy it? Well, you got to find a website that takes it or a person that takes it. And while a lot of people have been talking for years and years and years about mass adoption, it hasn't really happened. And that doesn't bother me one bit. A lot of people want it to be mass adoption so it takes over the current
As far as
fiat
becoming
system.
like the new popular way to the new
The new
currency, I
dollar,
guess.
digital dollar.
The new
Yeah, but
dollar. New okay.
I point them out something. In this recent crash that we had in the market, you would think that with the economy going down, something with a fixed supply, just like gold, would go up in value. But that's not what happened. It went against the conventional wisdom. And gold did its thing. It hasn't really blown up, but Bitcoin went down. And that's because Bitcoin, like everything else, has become a speculative risk asset.
Hmm.
And so when we went into a risk averse, a panic mode, where did people go? They went to safety. They went not to cryptocurrency, because cryptocurrency was not safe because the value is so volatile. They went to the dollar. That's why the dollar went up
Hmm.
and all the cryptocurrencies went down. So what mass adoption has given us is it has taken away cryptocurrencies non-correlative properties. In other words, now when you have now people look at it as a speculative vehicle. Uh, And when people go risk off, when traders go risk off, the value goes down, as opposed to people thinking it's a hedge against inflation. That's what people want it to be. They want it to be like gold. They want it to be a hedge against inflation because the supply is fixed, unlike fiat currency, which the federal government's printing out money, printing a bird, and so it doesn't. But I'm content with it not being mass adoption because I think it's succeeded in being what I define it as, which is an immutable store value.
Hmm. That's crazy because I would think it would have a chance to hold some value. The fact that there's only so much you can get from it, so
Well,
you can't overprint it like the dollar on a fiat, right? It's got to
it
lock
does
in,
have value.
but it seems
It's
to
worth about
fluctuate a good
seven
bit,
k.
right?
Not to date this, but it's worth about 7K right now.
Yeah.
Uh, a few years ago, I mean, it started at zero,
Hmm.
so just depends on when you bought it. But
So
it can have
it could
huge
eventually
price.
become to that. You think over time,
What?
hold some weight and have some value where it could almost. I mean, could you even put it up against, say, a dollar that was backed by gold? Could it have that same legitimacy? Legitimacy?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
And here's why. Back in 2017, when things were going really crazy, there there was a lot of transactions. The network got overloaded. It just wasn't built to handle more. And I know we're getting kind of the nitty gritty here, but um, each transaction fee, like I was talking about, you don't have to pay a transaction fee. If you don't pay a transaction fee, you get put in a queue. And if you put zero on there, you're going to get last. And what that means is you could not get processed for weeks.
Hmm.
So what would happen is, if you pay more in transaction fees, you get processed quicker.
Hmm.
Pay a good transaction fee, you get processed, in a few seconds. But otherwise, you have to wait. And then when things were doing the run up, those transaction fees to get at the top of the queue were 20 to 50. I think it was like went up to like $40 equivalent. So when you're trying to transfer $5 in Bitcoin and you're paying a $40 transfer fee, that doesn't really work, does it?
Hmm.
So there's a big weakness in that. And so as far as widespread usage, it's not really going to be Bitcoin itself. And that's why you have all these other cryptocurrencies. They've come in with more bandwidth. They can process more. They can process. So Bitcoin is actually technically inferior to a lot of those other cryptocurrencies out there. It just has the first mover advantage. It has the brand name that everyone refers to. And that's why it has the biggest market capitalization. Really, the only reason is that first mover advantage, and
Mm.
everybody knows it.
What's to stop the a central bank from coming out with their own cryptocurrency?
Nobody, why would they? It's like asking the Yellow Pages to make a website back in 1995. They didn't see the point
Yeah.
because we've got this thing going for us now. Why do we need to change and do this internet stuff or this technical stuff? So
Well, where do you see the future of cryptocurrency going then?
I see it as unkillable.
Okay.
Um, the Pandora's box has been opened into the world. It's not going to go away. I still think, even though we're 11 years in, yeah, 11 years into the whole experiment, we're still in the early days, and that there hasn't been a killer app that has really taken over the space. Like for instance, Amazon was around in the '90s, but nobody knew it was going to come out of the .com, uh, you know, craziness as the most important company to us right now. Exactly, as far as most people getting their goods and stuff like that.
Especially in this time of lockdown. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Bitcoin is always going to be around. Well, I won't say always, but for a while because of its, just the momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've always said that cryptocurrency was an answer to a problem no one really asked.
Hmm.
It's a solution looking for a problem to solve. And like I said, there's a lot of advantages and disadvantages to what it can offer over the current, financial system. Um, so as far as where it goes, there's a lot of advantages to it, but it's just not. It hasn't managed to replace credit cards
What about the
or money.
technology behind it? The technology behind it is pretty important. No,
It
because
is, and people were dabbling in a lot of different uses for it. Um, you know,
what you call the blockchain, is that the part that's important? The part that's
blockchain.
not
Yeah, the
hackable.
technology is the blockchain. It's where
Mm-hmm.
all the transactions are stored in a ledger. That ledger is kept in perpetuity. I think somebody said like the Bitcoin ledger is up to about 80 gigabytes now.
Mm.
So if you want to run like a node, you have to have 80 gigabytes of hard drive space on your um, machine, which is why you can't really run a full node on your phone. You have to use some app that transacts back, and that creates all kinds of little security things. But anyway, um, a lot of them out there have promise. I really kind of I went to a big blockchain conference about a year and a half ago, and I started drinking a little bit of the Kool Aid, the privacy coins, because they have probably the most succinct use case for crypto, which is anonymity being the primary reason people want to use it for
Yeah.
transacting.
Hence where it's kind of got the bad stigma of being on the black market trade, things like that.
Of course, that's what Why else would you use it? Oh
Yeah.
yeah, legitimate reasons. That's the
Oh
thing.
man.
That is the stigma because its best use case is avoiding regulations.
Yeah.
Not that everyone wants to use it for that purpose, but that's definitely the sinister side of it. It has been used before, and it's absolutely being used right now. Um, but that's kind of like the cost of freedom in a way. Like freedom versus security is really a trade off.
Hmm. Right on. Well, let's get into how do we trade this. I know this is somewhere a little bit dear to your heart, is actually trading in the trading world.
Hmm.
So I don't know if you want to share some of your stuff, what you got going on, your ideas, how you go about it. I mean, hell, what I assume you mentioned earlier, those three different exchanges are probably where most people can start if they want to trade,
Right.
and I mean, it pretty much looks like a standard chart, like all the other ones, right? For all the
Well, let me,
technical
let me
traders out there,
yeah,
and even fundamental ones can use the same three that you mentioned, right?
definitely.
Kraken,
Yeah, do the research. A lot of people when they go down the fundamental path, they become like cheerleaders of whatever
mm,
coin they're getting
yeah,
into. I think those people get a little too deep.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, of course, to get into the ecosystem, as it were, you got to start one of those exchanges: Coinbase, Gemini, or Kraken. I think the last two, Kraken and Gemini, will offer people uh, leverage trading. You can trade on margin. Doesn't mean it's a good idea for you, but they offer it. Um, Once you get that, you're going to want to know how to make an analysis. And the best thing for that's going to be tradingview.com.
Hmm.
When I started back in 2010, I had to download the actual candlestick data and put it into a separate piece of software. So I'd have like a spreadsheet every day that I'd punch into that, and I'd have to check. Glad those days are over, and that's really where TradingView got started, was really the crypto community. But now you can look up everything on there, do all kinds of charting and stuff like that. It's great. I love it. It's also like a social media, kind of a Facebook of trading. Um,
Yeah, you were way in it before it had its big, huge run, and everybody was screaming. What was that word that was so popular in the Bitcoin? HODL.
HODL,
HODL.
yeah,
Yeah.
hold on dear life. It's actually just a misspelling of hold, but hold
Yeah.
on dear life.
And it just
So
caught on and ran with it.
double
Gotcha.
entendre, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you want to chart it on TradingView, start getting into indicators, however you want to analyze it. And once you see that, there's some that you can actually link from TradingView into those exchanges, but you can also log into your exchange and do the trades that you want to do, buy and sell.
Is it something that's more appetizing for someone who's like a day trader or someone who's looking to invest long term, kind of Warren Buffett style?
Well, Warren Buffett, he definitely doesn't want anything. So I wouldn't say Warren Buffett style,
Hmm.
but I would say it's okay. Well, the first thing, trade day trading. Okay, go for it. Good luck. Those price swings can be crazy, and the liquidity can sometimes dry up in a snap, and all kinds of crazy price action will happen at
So it's
different times.
not for the amateur or mediocre person, huh?
People do it,
Yeah.
but I would
People
start
like
as
riding
a
roller
swing
coasters.
trader. I would kind of take a step back, maybe look at the daily, do your analysis there to start with, and be patient, and go for that. Go from there, and don't use leverage to start with, because price swings can be double digits in a day. There's no reason to use leverage. Like
Hmm.
a lot of people, they want to, get into crypto, put in $1,000, and be driving a Lamborghini by the end of the year, and it's not going to happen. Sorry to
You
bust
think it
your
will
bubble.
ever reach the same heights that it did before? Well, but what did it get to? Like
About
20, 22?
18K, 20K, depending. Yeah, about 20 something K.
Yeah. You think we will see
Will
those
it
heights again?
ever? Sure.
Yeah. Who knows, right?
It's yeah. I mean, it's pretty unkillable. So everyone you talk to, and I'm one of those, will say I'm long term bullish. Well, that's a kind of a cop out way of saying like I don't know when, but it's going to keep going up over the next
I don't know when.
years, decades. We'll
Yeah.
see. I mean, a lot of the run up that's happened in it. You have to put into context that it's happened in our current economic environment where the Fed is printing money, quantitative easing, and that money has to go somewhere. It's chasing yield, as they say, and some of it has ended up in cryptocurrency.
Hmm.
I mean, this last 10-year experiment, or more than that now, uh, the money has to go somewhere. And some of it, once, Wall Street, they just start dabbling in cryptocurrency. Why? Because there's money to be made. And people have more money.
What pushed it up the first time? That was an exciting event there. Everybody was talking about Bitcoin. I remember when
First
one of my guys in the kitchen came to me and he was like, Mike, man, how do I trade this Bitcoin?" I was like, "Man, it's time to sell now." Just when every average Joe was just talking about Bitcoin and getting in, it was just like the thing. And now kind of just came
I
and
agree.
went. I mean, what really drove that momentum there in the beginning?
The newness, the memory of the .com boom
Hmm.
probably played into it. I mean, people knew it was risky, but they also knew that they could, quadruple their money in a month, like it had just done.
Kind of
So,
like that tulip effect back in the day.
of course, I mean, yeah, definitely the tulip effect is the first, kind of quantified thing of it, but it's human greed.
Yeah.
People want more. I mean, I've had to talk down several friends that come to me, or which? Well, first of all, go back. Which run up are you talking about? Because we've had several.
The first one where we hit that almost, what was it, 20K, a little over 20K.
I wasn't the first one, my friend.
No,
I was like the third or the fourth time. I mean, at one point it went up $20, and everyone was blown away, including me.
yeah,
Wow, $20. It's because it had been just a few months early under a buck.
hmm.
That's serious returns, and then of course it crashed down again in virtually the same bubble pattern, and then it went up to about 200, and then it does 20K. Interestingly enough, kind of orders of magnitude, but yeah, I remember talking to a lot of friends down off the, hey, I want to get into Bitcoin at, close to 20K because they had heard about it finally. And I said, okay, well, I'm not going to tell you not to invest in Bitcoin, but you have to understand you're getting in at a crazy phase. So, what are you looking to invest of let's talk about portfolio, your net worth, how much you're looking to invest? All of it.
I kind of got some of those
I was like, okay, okay,
towards
yeah.
the end of
Let's
2019 too, and I was like, I don't know if investing in the stock market is the right thing right now. And sure enough, man, I'm glad I kept a couple people out. But
It's musical chairs, man. It's
I mean,
just
it just
musical
seems
chairs.
to be when the average Joe wants to get involved, it always seems the worst time to trade, or at least go long. But
Hmm.
um, well, man, you got any advice moving forward? Any other people, just for the person trying to get out there and get into this, what advice do you have given to somebody who's just getting into this?
Don't
And
use
hell,
leverage.
maybe even some advice to some people who have been trading it like yourself, man. You've been trading it for quite a long time, so
Same thing. Don't
you
use
know,
leverage.
hmm?
Don't use leverage.
Don't use leverage. All right,
Don't
there
use
you
it.
have it, man. Wes Bennett's over there saying don't use leverage. He's not saying don't trade it, just don't use leverage. So
I've seen so many people get burned because they come into this not really want to be a trader. That's fine. You want to be an investor, okay? But they look at a price chart and they see the moves that it can make, and they think that they can take their money that they worked hard to earn and quit their job and become a Bitcoin millionaire if
isn't
they're
that what we
just
all get in the stock market for, though?
well, the stock market people kind of well the thing about stock market they realized 100 years ago that people are crazy, and that's why you're limited to was it 1.5 or 2 maybe 3 tops leverage depending on the kind of account you have. You're
Yeah.
limited, but these exchanges because there's no regulation, they'll let you take 100 to 1 leverage.
Whew,
Won't
man.
so a 1% move blows out your whole.
Gambler's dream, huh? All in, baby.
But the message I have for both beginners and, well, if you're advanced enough to stay in the game, then you're probably learned this lesson already. But just you don't use leverage. You don't need to. Like if you can be patient, wait for a good setup and a good thing, good investment, you can get a 20% move,
Hmm.
and that's a double digit move. If you do that in a year, if you grow your money by 20% a year, I know you're not going to go buy a Lambo with that, but you're growing your wealth.
That's still
You
great
do that a few
percentages,
times.
though, man. Come on, what hedge fund's gonna give you that?
Dude, if you make double digits as a hedge fund, you're a rock star. And
No,
that's
I'm
the
saying
message
what
I
hedge
try to
fund is
tell
gonna
people.
give you in your retirement account double digits?
Oh, nothing that the average person can get into.
There you go. Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, if you people like they put their money in the stock, I think they're going to make 7% a year on average. That's the thing. We won't go into that, but yeah, people just don't. They're not content with the small incremental gains, which you can make trading crypto, because they're attracted by the allure of the leverage and the sick gains. But then they get, as known in the trading community, wrecked, REKT,
hmm.
because they just blow themselves out because maybe they don't understand the double-edged sword nature of leverage. Um, I think they do. But they need to understand that for you trying to double your account in this one trade has the equal chance of having it. It's just that simple. That's trading simplified right there, and leverage simplified. If you're looking for those kind of gains, you're taking on some really catastrophic risk.
Mm. There it
You
is
can
again,
accept that
guys.
if you want. Absolutely.
Greed, greed, the killer of it all, man. The killer of all retail
Well,
traders.
you know, as I'm sure as you've been trying to clip that, greed, for lack of a better term, is good. It does motivate people to try to, invest in these cryptocurrencies and things like that. So these projects can possibly go forward. So it's not a bad thing, but people take it a little too far. They don't have realistic expectations, especially if they're just starting out and don't have very much experience, or even those that are experienced.
Mm.
I think there's a lot of people that just want to do it as a hobby. They don't take it seriously. This is their Vegas, and that's fine. I'm not going to knock those people. That if they take it as entertainment, that's the thing. But if you want to increase your wealth in cryptocurrency, you don't need to use leverage.
Mm.
You just need to be patient.
There you have it, man. Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, another game in the fucking Vegas out there for you guys to lose all your money. Well, Wes, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about your experience and what you got. And more than welcome to have you back too if you want to continue talking about the crypto world and crypto news with us and enlighten us a little bit more. But definitely, man, I really appreciate you taking your time with us, man.
Well, thank you, Mark. Thank you for this opportunity. It was fun.
Awesome, bro. All right, man, we'll be in touch and good luck, man.
All right, man. Talk to you later.